Dear students, Assalamu alaikum. So far we have gone through the story. Till now we have seen how Swallow gave the second eye of the happy prince, which was in fact a sapphire, a precious diamond which was brought from India, to the little girl whose matchboxes were in the drain, whose matchboxes were gone wet in the drain. Now let us start what the girl did after getting that necklace, sapphire. After getting that sapphire. "What a lovely bit of glass!" cried the little girl. "What a lovely bit of glass!" cried the little girl, and she ran home laughing. She got very happy. What a beautiful glass she had got! What a beautiful thing she had got! She cried, and then ran home, and she went home. Then the swallow came back to the prince. "You are blind now," he said, "so I wish with you always. So I will stay with you always." Now, taking the pity on the blind prince, taking the pity on the blind prince, Swallow told the prince, "Now you are blind, you need me, you can't see things. I will stay with you always. I will not leave you alone." "No, little swallow," said the poor prince, "you must go away Egypt." The little swallow told the prince that no, you have not to be here. You must go to the Egypt. "No, I will stay with you always," said Swallow, and he slept at the prince's feet. He slept at the prince's feet, telling him that he is not going to leave him. Because why? Because the swallow took pity on the prince who had got blind. Because Swallow had taken away the sapphires which were acting as eyes of the statue, and as per command had delivered those sapphires to the people, one to little girl, and one to that young man. All the next day he sat on the prince's shoulder and told him stories of what he had seen in strange lands. Now he was narrating him the stories, because the prince was not seeing the things around him. So the swallow was narrating him the stories, what is going around the city, or what he had seen. Dear little swallow," said the prince, "you tell me a marvelous thing, but more marvelous than anything is the suffering of men and women. There is no mystery so great as great misery. Fly over my city with little swallow and tell me what you see." Now, little swallow was telling the prince what he had seen. The he said him the marvelous things, the beautiful things he saw in the city. But the prince told him, "No, don't tell me the marvelous things. Don't narrate me about the marvelous things you have seen. Tell me about the misery. What are the people going through? That is the marvelous thing to me, to solve their miseries. Let you fly over my city and bring me the report, now in mother tongue. Yel koi wrote you here atas keti sapphire, atas keti diamond, atas ket ye gay bad khosh the such crack near the earth gay panun gar swallow wapas mar swallow non princess mas happy princess benas trouwens was on betrouwens yal ki princess wana nas gas wapas क्या वन इजिप्ट गस इजिप्ट क्या दोस वोस प्यारा मगर swallow मोन न कह अथ गई रात यह शुंज अमिस नश सुबह युथु आव युथु गाश फुल यह बैठ अमिस फकिस पे वन मे हसा वो चनिस शहरस मज यह असल चीज यह ब्या असल चीज वुच कत्या असल चीज यह वन च मो वन मे असल चीजन हुंद कहीं च वन मे लूकन मुसीबत युस लूकन आमुत मुसीबत तिमन न्यूज वन मे मो वन असल चीजन मुतलिक कहीं मे वन लूकन मिजरी मुतलिक तो أتھۍ سۭتۍ ووٚنُس دوٚپُن کر شہرس چکرا وکرا تورٕ ونکھ مےٚ نِوٕز So the swallow flew over the great city and saw the rich man marry in their beautiful houses while the beggars were sitting at the gates. Now she saw one thing, that the rich man was very happy. In their houses they were singing, they were partying, they were dancing, but the poor folk were at their gates. Um, who were there to get alms, there to get alms. He flew into dark lands. He flew into dark lands and saw white faces of starving children looking out listlessly at the back streets. Now, what did he saw when he went to these poor places, go with these poor colonies? Rather, we will say, he saw that beautiful children with beautiful faces, who were very much hungry, who were starving listlessly, who were very much hungry under the archways of bridge. Two little boys were lying in each other's arms to try to keep themselves warm. The two boys under the bridge, archways are to be behind the pillar, beneath the pillar, or we may say on the side of a pillar of the bridge. They were hugging each other so tightly so that they could get the warmer, because there were no coolant for them to warm them. How hungry we are, and they were very hungry. They said, "You must not lie here," shouted the watchman, and they wandered out into the rain. Now the watchman didn't allow them to sit under the bridge. It was raining, and they have to run away in the rain. Now, when the prince ordered the swallow to go and see around the city, he saw one side, the brighter side of the city, where the rich men were enjoying, and on the other side, the poor men were suffering. In the meantime, he saw two boys under the bridge hugging each other to keep themselves warm from the bitter cold. But the watchman didn't allow them to take the rest beneath the bridge. But he shouted at him that you can't rest. Watchman shouted at them that you can't rest here. So they wandered and in the rains, because it was rain was falling. Atchu hukum diut emis prince near सान वुच कर चक्रा वक्रा अत वुच एम चीज एक वुच अमीर एंजॉय कर बेकन वुच एम गरीब एम बिचार आसान बेचा गेटस पे बिहत प्यारा आसान का अमीर मा नेर पत मा दी अस की अथ सत वुच एम कदलस तल कड़ ज अख सत नाल मोत कर एम के नाल मोत कर बिहत ताकि एमन लग न तूर के एमन ओस न लेफ वेफ या तुथ कह जरिए यम सत एम पानस वुशनेर हेकान कर तो एमन जबरदस्त तूर लजमत अथ सत करनख वॉचमैन कर येतथ म करियो तुम आराम कि अत रूद पेवान तो रूद मजी पे एमन पत बिचारन बचन दोन नेरुन. Then he flew back and told the prince what he had seen. He गई वापस बे बस वोन प्रिंसेस वुच मे क्या वुच. I am covered with fine gold, said Prince. You must take it off leaf by leaf and give it to the poor. The living always think that gold can make them happy. Now here is one important. The living always think that gold can make them happy. You shall the living only thinks that the living always thinks that gold can make them happy. The living always thinks that gold can make them happy. So this means that when we are on this earth, rather than doing good things, we are doing materialistic things. We do materialistic things. That is why we do materialistic things. So it is very much unfortunate that we are after the material world, and that is why the prince is saying that the living thinks that gold can make them happy. He also told them that my body is covered with leaves of gold. You can take it leaf by leaf and give it to poor so that their misery will be solved. Because the in this world the misery is solved by material things. By material things. The living leap after leap of the fine gold the swallow picked up till the happy prince looked quite dull and grey. Leap after leap the fine gold he brought to the poor, the children's faces grew rosier and they laughed and played in the street. We have bread now, they cried. As she was removing leaf after leaf from the body of the prince, it became grey, dull. It was not having charm any more. But it brought happiness on the faces of those who were suffering from hunger, from starvation. Their faces turned rosy, their faces got smile on back, and they were crying that we have got the food now, we have got the bread now, food, bread, huh? They cried. We can one image یُس ہسا میون یہِ جسم چھِ یہِ چھُ سۄنہٕ سٕنٛدیو پنتُلیو سۭتۍ بنٛد کٔرِتھ مطلب اَتھ چھِ پَلو بدلہٕ مےٚ سۄنہٕ سٕنٛدۍ پنتُلۍ لٲگِتھ ژٕ کَڑ پنتُلۍ مےٚ تہٕ یہِ دِ ژٕ ییٚمِس یُس تہِ نیٖڈی ٲسی یُس تہِ ضروٗرت منٛد ٲسی تَس دِکھ ژٕ یِم پنتُلۍ کیٛاہ تَس دِکھ ژٕ یِم پنتُلۍ یہِ کیٛاہ چھِ أمِس تہِ کَڑان پنتُلا ییٖتِس کالس پرنس گوٚو ننٛگہٕ یہِ گوٚو ڈل اینڈ گرے مطلب أمِس روٗز نہٕ سُہ چارم کہِ تیُتھ لوٚگ نہٕ سجنہٕ کینٛہہ یُتھ یہِ اوس مگر یِم غریٖب ٲسۍ یِم گٔے خۄش یِمو کٔرٕکھ وَسہٕ چھِ اَسہِ سُہ سادن کہِ أسۍ ہٮ۪کو بتہٕ میوٚنٛڈ یا ژوٚٹ ووٚٹ کھٮ۪تھ اَمہِ سۭتۍ آیہِ غریٖبن بچن ہٕنٛدِس بٕتھِس پٮ۪ٹھ خوشی. Then the snow came, and after the snow came the frost. The streets looked as if they were made of silver. Everybody went in furs, and the little boys wore scarlet caps and skated on the lea. Now it was the time of winter, and the snow fell. Everybody covered their body with furs means jackets with those feathers and such things, and little boys were wearing those scarlet caps in order to protect themselves from the cold, and they were skating on the snow. The poor little swallow grew colder and colder, but he would not leave the prince. But swallow was, as she was not habitual to this cold because they were migratory birds, she got cold and cold, and but she was not leaving the prince. He loved him too well. Prince too loved him. He picked up crumbs outside the baker's door when the baker was not looking and tried to keep himself warm by flapping his wings. What did he eat? When the baker's shop was baking the bakes, he cooked the crumbs. When baker was busy in some other things, and by flapping her wings, he was trying to keep himself warm. He was trying to keep himself warm.